Hi guys, Angela here. I want to follow up with episode 3 of how to get started in your young living business. Pardon my appearance. I am just about to head out the door and run to meet my trainer at the gym, but I am walking the walk here of done is better than perfect because I am leaving for Vegas tomorrow to head to the most powerful women of network marketing with some of my oily rock stars. And today is a crazy, insane day. I head from the gym to pick up my son from preschool. From preschool, run home to try to stuff some lunch in him, take him to yoga class, and then I'm home to try to get my bag packed, try to get a couple of things done before running out and doing a quick info session tonight, and then hopefully finish packing my bag at some point before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, where I get my kids on the bus and head out the door. So I knew if I waited for this to be perfect and for me to have my hair done and my makeup on, that episode 3 probably wouldn't happen this week. And I wanted to get the information to you sooner rather than later. So you're just going to have to deal with all of this that's going on and listen to the message and not get lost in the presentation. Let's go with that. All right, so let's get started right where we left off. The next step is follow-up. Follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. You've probably heard the fortune is in the follow-up. It sounds trite. You've heard it a million times, but you've heard it a million times because it is totally true. I know we harp on it all the time, and you're probably sick of hearing about it, but we harp on it all the time because this step is often the one that gets forgotten. If you doubt how much it gets forgotten, this right here is 37 pages of inactive members. Yeah, 37 pages of this, of people who were not followed up on after they've signed up and who have not ordered in the last 12 months. So if you wonder why we harp on follow-up, it's because we have 37 pages right here of just people in my organization who were not followed up with properly. So carrying on. So follow-up will be what sets you apart in this business, and it's just plain good customer service. The way to long-term success is to build a strong foundation of loyal members and business builders, and that's not going to happen if you skip the follow-up. So a great way to think of follow-up is to think of it as care calls instead of sales calls. A lot of you freak out about selling anything, and that's okay. You don't need to sell. Your mindset is key here. So focus on what you can offer to help with instead of calling with a sales agenda, or instead of focusing on what that person you're calling can do for you. If you make it about them instead of you, your care calls get a whole lot easier. You know what? You might have the odd care call that you make and the person's annoyed that you called them. That's fine. It happens. Some people are just grouchy. Maybe they were having a bad day. Who knows? But don't let the possibility or even the reality of one bad call ruin your business, right? You need to get back on the phone, make the next call. Even if one of them goes bad, you still need to pick up that phone and make the next call because this is your business. You're the one who's responsible for it, not that person on the other end of the phone who might just be having a bad day. So your first phone follow-up call after the person signs up should take place about a week after your new member orders the kit. You want to call to make sure they received their kit and that everything is there and in good order. Make sure there's no leaky bottles, nothing's broken. It's way easier to solve a problem right away than a month or two down the road. You need to find out if there's anything you can help them with. And suggest they purchase resources to help them navigate the I'm trying to do two things at once here. So you want to help them find out if there's anything you can help them with. Suggest they purchase resources to make the most out of the kit. You can use this call to schedule a date when you can follow up with them to help navigate the virtual office, go over the literature and the kit. That's usually a week or two down the road. That way they've had a chance to get started with the oils. At any point in the first or the second call, you can utilize forming, right? The Danny Johnson concept of form, which is, so the F is for family. So ask them questions about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and then their message or mission. This will help you get to know them a little bit better, and it will help kind of point you in the direction onto how you can best help them. So the second call, the second follow-up call after they get a kit, first off, in that first call, when you made a set time frame as to when you were going to call them, make sure you actually call them in the time frame you were going to set them, you were going to call them on. When you actually follow through and do what you say you're going to, it will cause them to think differently about you, because so many people right now just like throw these promises out there and then don't follow through on them. So if you actually follow through on what you say you were going to do, they will think a lot higher of you. It's really kind of cool, especially if they're a stranger, right? Like, they may have this idea in their head that you're a salesperson, and then you actually follow through on what you said you were going to do. And somebody's like, oh, wait, this is a person of integrity. I need to pay attention to what they're talking about. Let's hear more. So call them when you say you're going to on that second call. Explain the set literature in the kit. Walk them through placing an order in the virtual office. If they have their ER set up, remind them of their processing date. If they don't have ER set up, remind them of the benefits of it. You can let them know about any upcoming events in their area, and you can set a general time frame for the next call. For most members, that's probably going to be a month or two down the road. But if they're considering doing the business, you're probably going to want to contact them much more often than that, maybe even every week or so when they are first starting out, right? That way, if they've hit any roadblocks or have any questions that they don't feel comfortable reaching out to ask, then you can reach out to them and get them going. The easiest way, I find the easiest way to keep track of my care calls is with my planner and a binder. So my binder is just divided month by month with dividers. Like there's like a April and a May and a June and a July. I just used hole punched paper to list their contact details, or if they signed up in an event, I'll actually have their sign-up sheet hole punched in my binder, and then I just write notes on the back of it. And then once I've talked to them, so I make notes on each call so that I know what we've talked about. And then once I've talked to them, I just simply move them ahead to whatever month that we've agreed I'm going to talk to them in next. It's so lame and low tech and old school, but it's super duper easy to use. In our group, there is a file with sheets to keep track of care calls. If you like the fancy pre-printed sheets to kind of help guide you along, I just use blank paper, right? I'm not fancy. Some people do recipe cards and a recipe box and do it that way. I write way too much and my notes are far too detailed to be able to possibly do anything on a recipe card. So I use a binder. You can do it all online, you guys. There is sales software. When I used to be in sales, oh Lordy, 12 years ago for a water cooler company, and we used a software called ACT, that let you do all of this online and put your notes all in each client's file and stuff like that. But it's expensive. Like I looked into it because it's awesome and it has alarms, but it's like $500, whereas a binder is going to cost you $2 and a ream of paper $5. So for less than $10, you can be all set up and ready to go without spending $500 on the ACT system. I don't really care what you do as long as you make the calls. So use your binder, use your planner, use whatever you need to do, just make the calls. And again, done is better than perfect. Always, 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 always. If you mess up form or the call doesn't go as you want, great as you wanted it to, it doesn't matter. Just pick up the phone and make the next call. Perfect doesn't matter. Getting it done matters. A step that is really often overlooked is don't forget to follow up with your prospects. Most people need extra time before they are ready to commit to signing up. I think if you look in the graphic on this group, 2% of people sign up in their first exposure. And then over 80% sign up somewhere between the 5th and the 12th exposure. I think it was 5th, or was it 8 to 12th? Anyways, so my enroller, Catherine Naniga, one of your other platinum leaders, she followed up with me probably a solid 8 times over the course of a month to actually get me to my first intro session. I never once felt pressured or like she was being pushy. It felt very caring and very gentle. She just asked if I needed more information or time to process stuff. She reassured me that it was okay to take my time. And I needed that. If it had ever felt salesy at any time, I probably would have completely backed off. It can be very overwhelming for some people to process it can be very overwhelming for some people to process the information and make a decision, especially if they have green information-driven personalities like me. I had to read every single bit of information I could possibly get my hands on before I felt comfortable saying yes. So the more we respect that, the more likely that person will be to feel comfortable enough to sign up. Now, the really cool part about follow-up with a prospect is I didn't know Catherine when I signed up. If she had stopped following up with me at any point over that month, I would probably have not signed up at all, or I would have signed up under the next distributor who talked to me. So think about that for just a second. If she had not followed up with me, she would have missed out on tens of thousands of dollars in commissions over the last 3.5 years that our group's volume has given her. So that is mind blowing to think about. And it's not just me, you guys. So the next time you don't want to follow up with somebody because you don't want to bother them, think about how much money your family could potentially miss out on over the next 10 years if they sign up with somebody else. It can be done gently, in a caring way, without feeling pushy. I have some members who I followed up with very gently many, many times over 3 years before they signed up. Everybody has their own time frame. And like I said, guys, it's not just me who needs that extra time sometimes. Our latest EI3 winners, I believe their enroller took about a year of following up with them before they actually signed up. So think about that, right? It happens all the time, guys. And it happens, it's never too late to follow up with somebody. There is a gold leader out in BC. She's not green team, but I met her on the cruise and she's really quite groovy. She was almost inactive. Like, I believe her account was 2 weeks away from being inactive when her far upline, they're now Crown Diamond leaders, but I believe they're like somewhere in the 5 to 10 levels above her, reached down to her like in the final moments before her account went inactive and said, like, hey, there's a meeting coming up in your area. I apologize, the ball has been dropped, but I would like to help you if there's any way that I could. And all it took was getting her to an event, and that ignited her passion in the business. And she went from being 2 weeks away from being inactive to she started building the business, and she's now a gold leader. If that person had not followed up with her, if they'd not taken a chance and reached out 2 weeks before her account went inactive, who knows what would have happened, right? That's certainly a massive team builder that they would have missed out on. And the flip side of this happens as well, you guys. There's a Crown Diamond leader in Ontario. Her account went inactive. Nobody in her organization spoke to her at all. And then somebody on another team reached out to her about the business side of the opportunity after her account was already inactive. She reactivated within a new group and a new organization and went on to build a Crown Diamond business. So, I mean, follow-up can be your best friend. And if you don't bother with it, it can also be your worst enemy. So let's leave it at that for today, because I'm pretty passionate about follow-up, and I can carry on for quite some time about it. And I don't want to keep you here all morning staring at this ridiculousness that needs to get its butt to the gym. So have yourself a fantastic day, a great weekend. Zoom schedule will be posted shortly. We're going to do a follow-up next week to recap everything that happened at the Most Powerful Women in Vegas this weekend. So be watching for that. And then we have an intro session coming up later in the month. So a very abbreviated Zoom schedule for the month of May, because May is busy. When I started trying to find time in my schedule between info sessions to book Zoom calls, it got really, really tricky. So rather than not do personal activity, and rather than have any of you sit at home instead of personal activity, we're only doing 2 Zoom calls in May. We'll do some more videos and continue finishing up this How to Get Started series. And then I'll throw some random videos in there as I can, but there will only be 2 Zoom calls in May because, yeah, there is too much going on and too many info sessions for me to be able to fit weekly Zoom calls in. So that's a good problem to have, right? Hopefully you guys all have the same problem. So have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you after Vegas. Thank you, guys.